The final day of the 2017 BMW IBSF Bobsleigh World Championships. We're at Königssee in Bavaria. 2 heats to go to decide the blue ribboned event, the 4-man bobsled. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Trackside at Königssee, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me, John Morgan. And John, this is where we get to see somebody take a step closer to the medals.
Yeah, you have defending world champion, Team Oscar's Melbardis. He won the event last year, Latvia's first time ever winning the World Championship trophy in bobsledding. Well, he didn't have a good start number. Second run, though, he powered himself into the second best time. He's only 10 hundredths out of a gold medal. He's chasing down the silver medal. Well, Francisco Friedrich, he won the 2-man title. He was leading after 3 heats last year in the World Championships, fell behind Melbardis. He's got something to prove. He'd like to walk out of here with a double gold, 2- and 4-man. But the guy he's got to chase down is his teammate. He's 300ths behind Team Johannes Lochner. Lochner, who lives right down the street, a mile away. He's the hometown favorite. Huge crowd on hand rooting for him. He's won 3 4-man races this season, but in the last 4-man race in Eagles, he was disqualified for hot runners. And Steve Holcomb, he's just about 6/8 1000ths in 4th.
We've got a very tight lead group. Anyone within 3/10 of the top could be in the top half dozen, and Holcomb, maybe even Nico Walter, could threaten for a medal. This run will narrow the field down a little, or maybe widen out some of the gaps. And further down the order in our 32 sled field, there are some very tight battles, dead heats and gaps of 100th of a second between sleds. We started the first day yesterday with 34 sleds. Vuk Radjenovic pulled the Serbian team after 1 heat. And Brad Hall crashed for Great Britain in the 2nd heat. They are all okay, but we are down to a 32 strong field. And our 4th and final heat will just be the fastest 20. So final warm-up preparations. It's a cold, frosty night has led to a cool day. There's Oscar's Melbardis in the X-Drive hat, your reigning world champion. Nico Walter, can he take a medal here?
5th place at the moment.
And there is Francesco Friedrich's arch rival. Johannes Lochner still fighting a wretched cold, a head cold flu that has been affecting him the whole time. He has a 300ths of a second lead. And what about Rico Peter? Well, a long way off the pace after the first day of action. The grandstand down below our commentary position is full. Every inch of roadside is full. Every inch of track railing is full to see this battle royal play out between 2 young German sliders. Johannes Lochner from Bavaria, Francesco Friedrich from Saxony, and their teammate Nico Walter might be in the hunt as well. 3 26-year-old stars for Germany who are undoubtedly going to be big features of German bobsledding for the next 8 years, and who knows how much longer. There's your 32 sleds. We go first to last in their current standings.
Well, we're about to witness an epic day of bobsled racing here, Martin, on a track that's very, very challenging.
Germany's Johannes Lochner gets the 2nd day of competition underway in the 4-man bobsleigh world championships. He has a 300ths of a second lead. Spent yesterday evening studying video to try and find out where the time is escaping him.
He lost a lot of time in the 2nd run. He had the 6th best time in the 2nd run. It's amazing he's able to do that and still have the lead.
This is his home track where he learned to drive. His father lives down the street in Berchtesgaden.
Speed.
1:16.1, 72.1 miles an hour. Exit here will be vital, and he nails it. Absolutely down the middle, little bump on the exit.
This is the Echo Von. This is the graveyard of time, the uphill section of the track. We saw Steve Holcomb lose all sorts of time there yesterday.
Set a track record in the first heat, 48.64, slower than he's been yesterday. Now the track was very quick this morning, very glassy and hard, but maybe not so quick this afternoon. Is that enough to take any lead into the 3rd heat? We'll find out in 2 minutes.
Track is definitely a slower track to work with. They are the first ones down, the best ice. The exit out of the first Albatross on the track, the S's Nice, the bend around. It's not a straightaway, it's a bend around. You got to tap, but you want to tap with a little bit of energy. 2 taps, 3 taps, 4. That is not the norm. 3 or less is the norm.
Look at the crowd, 3 or 4 deep on the railings all the way down this track. There's the local hero, Johannes Lochner. 1 more run to go. Francesco Friedrich took the 2-man gold for the 4th straight time a week ago. A year ago, he nearly doubled up with a 4-man. His brakeman in the background, Torsten Margis, with all sorts of grimaces on his face. But Friedrich and Margis can't underestimate how much of a threat they are.
Well, they had a track record at the start, 475 in the first run, before Mel Bardis re-broke the track record, 477, 200 slower than their time yesterday. They matched it both times, 475s.
300s behind in the first heat, leading by 500s courtesy of their faster start.
This looks pretty clean, but he should have more time than that. Well, look how clean he gets through here. 2 hits. Remember, Lochner had 4 hits, 117.1. That's a full kilometer better than Lochner. Pulling away at 11. I think he's going to get him. 125.7 was Lochner had. 125.5, not the best speed. 100th! Wow, what a race. So these guys are going to go head-to-head. Well, Bardis might say something about that coming up. But these 2 German sleds are separated by 1/100th of a second going into the 4th and final run of the World Championship. And last year, in the 4th and final run, he faltered, fell to 2nd, prevented himself from winning that exclusive double gold at a World Championship. The crowd, a lot of Latvians coming up next. Here's down in the speed part of the track in the labyrinths. Look at that spray coming off the back of the runners. You're going to see some back left runner. You can see that airborne, but everybody's going to do that. Question is, how quickly will the track dig up?
The world champion, Oskars Melbardis of Latvia. After a season that was blighted, trying to recover from back surgery in the summer, neither he nor lead brakeman Dalmas Drayskins are fully fit by their own standards. However, they broke back the track record yesterday to lie in a bronze medal position overnight.
Well, if Friedrich got a 477, know what these guys did. This has got to be 475, 476. This is the team that's been intact for 3 years. No other team in the competition has had the same 4 guys for 3 consecutive years. So, huge men trying to get a 476, 477, 75. 200's better than Friedrich. 57.8, huge velocity at the start.
700s behind Friedrich after the first 2 runs. The gap's down to 500s. Can he move into the lead?
That's a skid, bad skid, bad skid. No chance now. That's a mistake. It's going to knock him out of chance for medals. He's 3 kilometers down in speed. This is not a good run for the reigning world champion. He's going to fall way back. Holcomb coming up next. Nico Walter could probably slip ahead of him into the bronze medal position.
And this is the danger in the 4-heat race. 1 loose run can cost you everything. Melbardis moved up into the bronze. He's 3rd of 3, shakes his head. He knows that huge skid all the way down the straight is going to cost him dear.
No one will be more disappointed than him. Look at his face. His team gave him the start. Thrill of victory, the agony of defeat right there. He knows he just threw away a gold opportunity. He could still get a medal. But watch the line here. Now this is Friedrich. Look how straight he comes. Look at the difference. Friedrich had 2 kilometers an hour. Look at the Latvian sled. In 100ths of seconds, how much was that worth?
It was never for a moment straight. And that opens up a medal opportunity for this man, the redoubtable Steve Holcomb. Racing in a sled that he has never raced before, a rented Swiss sled. He's had maybe now a dozen trips in it. The steering is as different as a race car is from a bus.
He's got 11 trips. Carlo Valdez, Jimmy Reed, and Sam McGuffey gave Holcomb some great starts, 8th and 9th yesterday, low 80s.
And
81.
Look how gently they get in, not to disturb the momentum.
Look at the velocity, they matched the velocity.
What it does. They get in slow motion and carry that momentum.
Well, Holcomb with the start time is lethal. And this is what he does. He made a big mistake, though, in the Ecovon yesterday. Look at 1 hit, 2 hits. This is good, speed. 169, not great speed, though.
0.2 miles an hour only off the fastest, and that was Johannes Lochner. Good run through the labyrinth. This is exactly what he needs.
This is where he made his mistake. Ecovon exit right here in the first run. This time he's perfect. He's bringing it back.
He's up to 3rd. He's ahead of Melbardis on the split times. Holcomb moves into the medals.
3rd. That's just what he does on the bottom part of the track.
The Germans went 48.60, 48.64, Holcomb 48.66. He's learning this sled fast.
I think this guy could drive a garbage can. He has just found magic on the bottom part of the track. Other than that first heat yesterday, he'd be right there near the German sleds. And look how quiet everything is for him. I mean, you can't see his team. They're buried back there in a sled they're not familiar with. This is only his 12th trip with the sled.
And the reason they're driving this sled is not because it feels better for Holcomb, but because the crew can get in it better, and that's why their starts.
Especially at the start, yeah. Look at, this is his signature, Bavaria. They love him here.
Holcomb, there's a lot more fans here than there were yesterday. You could be doing this for the rest of the weekend. So Nico Walter now, what does the slip by Oskars Melbardis offer the man from Altenburg? With Kevin Kuska, the giant behind him, Kevin Corona and Eric Franke. They were 200s behind Holcomb. They could shoot for a medal.
Spectacular start time yesterday. Kevin Kuska, the leader of the pack there, 77. But the driver, Nico Walter, he had a terrible exit of the S's. 480, that's a good start for him. He's a great pilot. He just did not deliver the goods yesterday, especially on the exit of the S's coming up right here.
Ooh,
not perfect.
Gets away with it. He was 2/10 behind after 2 trips, 2400s behind.
Speed way off.
1:16.4, 72.3, half a mile an hour down. The gap is opening up. Holcomb was only 2100s behind at the line.
This FES sled is supposed to have all the bells and whistles, the latest stuff that they've tested. 24, he's coming back though.
Good speed, and he's up close to 3rd place.
Oh,
very close. He's
second best time.
Wow, he's 100th ahead of Holcomb. He's moved into the medals.
Wow.
Oh my Lord.
Time on the bottom part of the track. If he did that yesterday in the first heat, he'd be up there sniffing the gold medal.
100th separating 1st and 2nd, 100th separating 3rd and 4th. Nico Walter makes it Germany 1, 2, 3 with 1 heat to go.
Well, slingshot onto the bottom, the exit of Kreisel. That's where you get your speed on the bottom. Watch the back runners. Right, left. Let's see if the left runner gets up. And the transition on the Kelstein curve, that's where you find the speed. Nico, other than that first heat yesterday, you're doing good.
5 sleds from 4 different manufacturers in the top 5. Germany 1, 2, 3. Holcomb 100th out of the medals. Melbardis, his chance to double up on his gold medal from last year has gone. Justin Cripps of Canada, 5th place in the 2-man world, I beg your pardon, silver medal in the 2-man worlds. Alexander Kopax, Jesse Lumsden, Lascelles Brown, trying to round their weekend out with a top 6 finish for Canada.
580, 581, 480, 481 yesterday, excuse me. 479. So the
Wow.
Canadians, velocity should be good. 4th best velocity. Little drift there out of that first curve. Because he's crossover into the take-on. Maybe had to use more ice there. Here, not perfect.
But doesn't get the skid that Mel Bardis had. Mel Bardis is going to tumble down the order with that 3rd run.
Oh, but this speed is way off the pace. He's 2 kilometers down to the German sleds.
Full mile an hour slower.
And he's
Will he
way
overhaul
back.
Mel Bardis for 5th?
No chance. 48, he might get it back to 40. But somehow he lost that time. That up there in that straightaway killed his speed.
Yep, only 5th best speed at the bottom as well, so he'll remain in 6th position of the 6 sleds. Coach Graham Richardson and Stefan Bosch there.
Remember I talked about that drift in the first straightaway above the S's? I don't think he ever got the proper line in the S's. And when he came out, he had a lot of playing with the runners all the way down that straigaway.
Well, after his week in 2-man, top 6 will be no disgrace for the Canadians.
Watch this. Now watch the runners. Okay, he's not hitting the wall. Look at the runners. You think he's jiggling them a little bit? He's trying to find a way to straighten it out. Down here, though, it was okay, but he had no speed. He had the worst speed of the 6 sleds into the Kreisel. And that was relative to the way he got into the Kreisel and out of the S's.
There's Jesse Lumsden. Alex Kopax, Marcellus Brown in the background. There's Justin Cripps, 6th spot at the moment. Pressure for Cripps comes from Benny Meyer, the young Austrian. Meyer 5th in last year's Worlds on home ice in Innsbruck in Austria. And he's 100th out of a top 6 finish.
He could do it.
This is enormously tight, the next 3 sleds so close together.
83 and an 85 yesterday, 87. So most everybody else is the same or has got better. The Austrians are the first sled that really have considerable less time at the start than they had yesterday. Worse time at the start, excuse me. Now, he's going to need 116 change at least to have a chance here. 116.3. That's about a half a kilometer better than Cripps.
Better than the last 2 or 3 sleds into the Kreisel, bringing the gap down, 51/100ths. He's not losing as much time. He's already ahead of Justin Cripps on the splits.
Ooh, that tap there is going to hurt him. 5th best speed.
Maybe not enough. 6th or 7th is the 6th fastest run, but he's just behind Cripps. 300ths of a second now.
Yeah, that little tap down there doesn't sound like much, but he was 100th behind Cripps before the run started, 3 down below. And I saved that little tap there in the graveyard section of the track, exit of Ecovon, where you go uphill. That cost him a couple hundreds, if not more. Look at the crowd, and this is a very educated crowd. Here, pretty tough to tell. Watch the back spray come up, the back runner, that's the norm, and then a climb. Look at the runner, where his runners are. Probably in the middle, a little bit below.
Benny Meyer with a little bit to think about, was hoping to move up, didn't quite make it there. 1 more run to go. 1 more run too for the Russians. This is the first of our 3 Russian sleds. Maxim Andrianov, the least experienced of the trio, ended day 1 of the World Championships on top of his teammates. Look at that, you could just see Yuri Selikov on the right, practicing stepping up onto the bunks. And those are just about wide enough to get a foot on. It's what you've got to leap on to get into the sled.
This Russian sled here advanced like 5 spots in the second heat. And they had the worst start time of the top 8 sleds that we've seen so far. They had 5:18 before, excuse me.
He was only
best
11th,
start. 46, 47.
11th in the first heat, went 5th fastest in the field in the second heat to jump up into 8th place.
But he went early in the heat. In fact, he leapfrogged ahead of both his teammates. Little hung it off that 4th S. Still pretty good considering the start disadvantage. 116 speed, he needs it. 115.9.
First World Championships driving a 4-man sled. He's done 2 in 2-man.
62.
Now this is maybe more about staying in front of his teammates. The Russians were racked up 8, 9, 10 after day one. 6,400s behind, it's a good looking run. How close to Benny Meyer? 600s behind him. He was 300s behind after 2 heats. Just loses 300s to Benny Meyer. 48.93, we're seeing now what we sort of expected a little for the sleds to go slower. That's actually the slowest run. Second slowest is from the reigning world champion Oskars Melbardis, who did a 48.91. And in comparison, Francesco Friedrich, the yellow sled, look at Anjonov's waving line, covering a little bit more ground.
And when you're dealing with hundreds of seconds, a couple meters difference in that Kreisel, that's worth 2 or 3 hundredths at least, just on that 100-meter part of the track.
Anjonov finished day one as the top Russian sled in 8th. His teammate Alexander Kazyanov, the veteran, is 9th. 4th place in the last 2 Olympic Games behind his teammates off the podium. And Kazyanov, 8th fastest on the first trip down, only 12th fastest time in the second heat. So he needs a nice, tight run this time down.
He's the World Cup leader in points. So this is a little disappointing for the Russians to have him back in the field.
1 win this season, the opener in Whistler, 1 other medal in January in Altenburg. Last time here, 3 weeks ago, he was only 6th in the World Cup field. He's going to struggle to match that.
Well, it's all about the exit of the essence, the perfect lines. And that's as good as we've seen. Does he keep it going? Yeah, very cool. That was a second hit, hard, 1:16.6. This is the best speed we've seen in the last 5 sleds.
Still 6,100s behind. He's in 8th place. He really wants to overhaul teammates. Maxim Anjonov.
Speed, 6th best speed. You know, we see the track just doesn't provide speed after 8 or 9 sleds. 9th best time, 9th best total time. Zubkov on the left, you could see his disappointment with his top athlete.
Didn't even overhaul rookie Max Anjonov.
This is going to be a very quiet exit of the sled by the Russian team, who are the leaders in the World Cup standings with 1 race to go.
He is unlikely to finish up as our World Cup champion unless Rico Peter doesn't go to Korea.
3 hits, but the second one was a hard hit.
Yeah.
Good speed, but that speed is entering the Kreisel. Look at the spray. That was an early spray. And he looks higher than the, you see that? He was higher than the runner marks
really
on the wall. So keep your eyes on the runner marks. You should be probably about an inch below it. Look how disappointed he is.
If there was a cat to kick, he'd be kicking it right now. Kazyanov, underwhelming. What about Alexei Stilnev? Now, Stilnev was the best placed of the 3 Russians yesterday after 1 heat in 5th place. 14th fastest run, doubled his start number. He's now down to 10th overnight. The danger for him is the second Latvian, just 100th over his shoulder.
He's 400s behind his teammate, Kazyanov, who just came down. And most importantly, Stilnev's had a great season. He won his first ever World Cup medal of any kind in the 2 or 4-man on this track 3 weeks ago.
And while Kazyanov started at the top and has faded away, Stilnev's crossed and gone in the other direction.
And he made a mistake yesterday here, and he just did it again. Speed, 116.6, his teammate, 115 speed. Might be the worst speed of all sleds we've seen so far.
And that opens the door for those outside the top 10. That was a bumpy exit to the labyrinth onto K.O. Stein as well. That is going to offer lots of potential for Oskars Kibermanis to bump him out to the top 10.
Flops off that second to last curve, 49.07. We haven't seen anybody improve or jump a spot. You know, and Martin, we've seen it in this track. We have not seen too many people have the ability to find speed on the track after 10, 11 sleds go down.
4 sleds ago, Benny Meyer did a 48.90. That's a 49.07. That's 1700ths of a second lost in 4 sleds.
Well, this wasn't perfect. One hit, then he just catches, and there's the back end coming out at 115 speed. Well, you can understand why he had that speed with those taps before the speed trap. Here, well, it's a crapshoot. Where does he go? Look how he's late. Look at the line. Oh, that's pretty good. It's tough to say what's good, bad, or different as you enter that Kelstein curve.
Germany 1, 2, 3 after the first top 10 sleds in our 32 sled field. 11th place for Oskars Kībermanis of Latvia. 100th out of a top 10 overnight. And while Alexei Stulnev, who's just gone, went 5th and 14th fastest, Kībermanis went 12th and then 7th. His momentum is on the way up.
This team got a 475 yesterday. They rock it out there to a 475 again. He could pick up a couple places here with a clean drive down the track. 478, that's not the rocket, but that's pretty good.
Still a 10th quicker than almost any of the Russian sleds, and all the 3 Russian sleds are vulnerable to Kībermanis. He could torpedo them all with this run.
Well, you got to be perfect out of the S's. That's the first part of the mission. Now the second part of the mission is 116.5 speed. 115.6, full kilometer off the mark he needs.
Still quicker than the Russian sleds at 115.0. Third fastest start. He's in 10th place at the moment, so he's overhauled Stulnev. He was in 8th going into the
skid
Kreisel.
there. Lost some time there on the exit of the Ecovon. Only the 9th best speed, 9th best time of the run.
But he's moved up. He's picked off Stulnev. A 48.96 was 100th quicker than Kazyanov managed as well. So Kazyanov is going to have to watch his back because Kībermanis is only 400ths behind him for 9th place.
But Andrianov has put himself in position to be the top Russian coming out of here. That's not what the Russians want. They don't want their Russian 3 rookie beating the other 2 veterans. He loses some time here. Watch the skid. See that little back end? He might have come out of there too much steering, then he drifts to the left side, probably hit the wall. 9th best time on the bottom speed trap.
Kībermanis in the top 10. Francesco Friedrich, Johannes Walter, Nico Walter are the top 3. 12th of our starters in our field of 32 is America's Justin Olson. Last year in the World Championships, the former Olympic winning brakeman was a forerunner in the 2-man and the 4-man race. And this year, he is racing in the main World Championships for the USA.
Had a rocket second run. 15th in the first, 9th in the second, and a top start, top 4 start. Good athletes in this sled, 6th best this time, 481 velocity, 7th. So they've had great starts, they've not had great velocity. But these guys only been together for a couple weeks. The US teams shuffled their teams up quite a bit in the last 3 weeks. And that's been a real hurdle for him, the exit of the S's. Now we need 115 high, 114. Worst speed of any sled yet.
Never quite tidied up the S's in the 2-man, but the 4-man he's got more of a handle on. And a good run through the labyrinth. He's moving ahead of Alexei Stulnev of Russia. This will put him into 11th place. He picks
best
off
speed. That hit might cost him. 11th best time, still maintains 12th. Only 100th behind Stulnev, so that...
Lost that in the final corner.
That graveyard section of the track, where you don't see it on the television coverage. It's a steep uphill section, and if you hit there with a sport that's defined by gravity, that's why we call it the graveyard. It buries your time. This is a little tap. This wasn't too costly. He's been sideways out of that curve or not, but this is the exit of the Ecovon into the graveyard. Watch this. And this is when you're going uphill. 1 hit, 2 hits, and he's still on the wall for about 20 meters. But he's a rookie. First World Championships. Pretty good being 12th place.
Jan Verber of the Czech Republic in 13th spot overnight, tied with Rico Peter, who lies second in our four-man World Cup rankings. Jan Verber lying in 18th spot in the season standings.
Well, should probably get a 485, 486, 483 is what they had yesterday. 487, and they all didn't get settled. 13th velocity, that's relative to they were not settled. When they finally got settled when they're going through that speed trap, 100 meters.
Best World Championship result in a four-man for Verber, 10th place in Winterberg a couple of seasons ago.
Well, you can really see the shoulders back there, the fourth guy, and then it doesn't matter what type of aerodynamics you got. When you start skidding the entrance to the big Echo Van, or to the Kreisel.
Verber competed in the World Championships for the first time in Königssee 2011, finished 17th in the four-man, so at the moment he's looking to improve on that. At the line, won't catch Justin Olsen, and in fact the gap between them opens up to a yawning 33 hundredths of a second, so Olsen distanced himself from the challenging pack. Verber was only 14 hundredths behind, and that's added another 2/10 to the disadvantage.
Well, the skidding there before Yana, you can see the drivers get out of the sled. I mean, these are the best drivers in the world, and all of them are challenged by this track in 2 or 3 places. Here, you can see the number 2 guy slip getting in. His arms are still out. The speed trap's right there, and they're still not settled. And then down here, well, this is where the driver wasn't settled, because that's how not to do it. And he knows it.
Disappointing loose run for Jan Verber. Tied for 13th spot with the Czech Republic's Jan Verber is Switzerland's Rico Peter. Talisman Alex Baumann is back on the sled. Baumann's struggled with injury this season, and Rico needs him in the 2-man and the 4-man crew to get the starts that give him success. Seaman Freely and new boy Michael Quonen on the back of the sled.
Well, they just didn't get it going at the start or down below. Rico was sideways down there in the exit of the S's yesterday in at least one run.
Only 11th here in the World Cup race 3 weeks ago. Took a silver medal in Eagles 2 weeks ago.
Start is 500ths back from theirs yesterday, but 8th best velocity, so they did improve in that 100-meter mark. Now this is where things went sideways for him yesterday.
He's had a gold and 2 silvers this season. The reason he and Kazyanov are on top of the standings is they've done every race, unlike some of their rivals.
This is the best speed we've seen in the last 8 sleds.
It's about the 3rd or 4th fastest in the heat, so can Rico Peter use the Swiss sled speed down at the bottom? Steve Holcomb with the fastest speed of all from his Swiss-built sled. 1:25.0 from Rico Peter, not bad. He's going to move ahead of Verber. He does.
12th best time in the region.
Breaks the tie by 21 hundredths.
Yeah, so that's a much better heat, even though he's still 12th best time of the run. But he is coming down 14th.
This is the man who lies second in World Cup standings. That wasn't even as quick as 4-man rookie Justin Olsen.
Olsen beat him at the start. Pretty good, though. Well, here's the exit of the S's. He's going to pound the wall on the left side of our screen. Don't think that's not worth some time. Here in the Echo Van, the graveyard, a lot of people hanging out there on the wrong side of the straightaway. He's looking at it.
Yep, he knows where the time went away. And does that do him a disservice? It might do, because Frenchman Loïc Kosterg, if he gets a consistent run, could be right in there. 14th and then 17th in his first 2 heats to drop to 15th place. He only lost 1 spot with that slightly loose second run. Change of brakemen on the back handles yesterday, Jeremy Bouterin. I said back to fitness, clearly not that much, because Dorian Hauteville in the white helmet there at the back is now on the back handles.
Well, they had the 25th best start time yesterday, 92.91, so this is probably 93.94. 90, so the change in the brakeman, they're one of the few teams that have improved at the start overnight.
Jeremy Bouterin's normally their #1 brakeman, but he's just not been fit all season, and clearly he wasn't up to scratch yesterday.
Well, this guy had some really good trips yesterday. Look at that exit. You're probably going to see some excellent speed here.
I tell you what, I'd love to see him with a Latvian crew starting behind him. He'd get to corners at speeds he's never seen before.
Good pilot, Bruno Manjean equipment, and he's challenging here. He's probably going to pick off Jan Vibra.
And he might get a lot closer to Rico Peter as well.
Look at these lines, they're as good as anybody. 9th best speed.
He's going to be very close to Rico Peter at the
11th
line.
best
He's
at the bottom.
200s behind the Swiss.
But look at that, with the worst start of the 14 by a lot. Look at that, he started 1300s each heat behind Friedrich, the leader. So he's 4/10 down at the start, and he's only a second down in total time.
Well, he's given away over 1/10 of a second to Rico Peter in the start alone over 3 runs. He's 200s behind him at the bottom after 3 runs.
If the French can find a start for this guy, he could definitely challenge next year. Knows how to drive, but of course, he's being tutored by one of the best, Bruno Manjean, not only his coach, but he also is his tech master. He builds the sleds.
But you've got to learn how to drive it as well. And Loic Kosterg has definitely done that. 15 sleds down in our field of 32. It's Germany 1, 2, 3, but it is tight for the medals. From here on in, it's all about making the final heat. You do that by finishing in the top 20 in heat 3 of 4 in the World Championships. Markus Treichel of Austria making his 4-man debut as a driver. Raced last year as a brakeman in the 2nd Austrian sled.
I saw his parents. They're more nervous than anybody in the stadium here. 492 start, pretty much what they had yesterday, 90-91. 15th best velocity. They're going to have to work on that.
1/100th of a second behind the Frenchman Loic Kosterg overnight. So he too has got a chance to move up.
I was really impressed with his lines yesterday in both runs. I really thought he'd falter the 2nd run. Those skids right there were not what he did yesterday. Speed, not terrible, but not great.
We saw the Russian sleds with 1:15, Markus Treichel 1:14.9. This will be a Wolfgang Stampfer-built sled, and they're always fast at the bottom.
He's a rookie, World Championships, first one ever.
Good lines. He's overhauled Jan Verber of the Czech Republic, who's in his 7th World Championships, and he moves in front, doesn't quite catch Loic Kosterg. 49-13 slide. Markus Treichel, anything now is gravy for him.
He's into the, he'll make the final cut.
Yeah.
Well, it's a, personal best. People coming out here doing better than they've ever done before. Markus Treichel and his team, they've done that. Rookies in the field, they have to be ecstatic that they're going to get the 4th and final run, something they probably didn't expect to get coming in here.
And there's going to be some big names behind them that don't get a final trip as well. So Markus Treichel is in 15th, Jan Verber 16th for the Czech Republic. And the Austrian girls who raced last weekend down there helping with the sleds and offering their congratulations to Markus Treichel.
Look at Lascelles Brown. Or no, that's not Lascelles, that's
Neville
Neville Wright.
Behind Chris Spring. He's got Cam Stones and Josh Kirkpatrick on either side.
Do you think Neville's ready to go?
Yeah, maybe. Neville Wright took 2 years away from the sport to complete his graduate training.
Josh Kirkpatrick's been sliding all year long with Justin Cripps.
Yep. Cam Stones on the sled as well. This should give Chris Spring a good start. They were 14th and then 7th fastest in the 2nd heat.
Okay, start 84, then an 80 in the 2nd run yesterday. So if they had 80 in the both runs.
Great low, 483, that's not bad.
No, they improved.
Look at the velocity, 3rd fastest through the speed trap off to the 1st corner. That's exceptional loading off an 8th fastest start.
Well, if the Springer can bring it down like he did in the 2nd run, he could move up 2 or 3 spots, and these are good lines. 115 high.
2 big thumbs
116
up for Chris Spring. This is a good-looking run. Spring's going to move up on the split times at the Kreisel. He's up 2 spots to 14th, 3 spots to 14th.
He's going to challenge a couple sleds here.
Great run from Chris Spring, exactly what he needs.
Little tap there, though. 7th best speed, not bad considering he's coming down so late.
Picks up 2 spots to 15th. He was in 17th place overnight.
He could move up a couple more. He gets better ice to work with in the next run.
Yeah, another big start from the crew, and they could move themselves up nicely.
It's the first race this crew's been working together, too. So you have to give the hats off to those guys. Listen to them talk about their time.
Yeah.
So, start. Get in, get down, get in with a cat, like watch his right hand. Look at that, he slipped. You see that when he got in, he slipped and his right arm came down. So I'm sure underneath his armpit, he's got a little bruise there. He slipped getting in, but you wouldn't know it the way he came down the track. Obviously, it did not bother him.
Switched off that pain. Good trip from Chris Spring. They move up 2. 18th of 32 sleds. We're getting close to the cutoff point. The top 20 only after this heat go through into the 4th and final run. Nick Cunningham of the USA wants to be there. He hasn't had a World Cup race this season. You beg your pardon, he started the first one in Whistler, but since then not. He's been in the North American Cup. Now a chance to really put a good World Championship run together.
Frank Del Duca, Adrian Adams, Chris Kenny. Looked like that was clean. 21st best start yesterday, 88 today. That's same as they got yesterday. Speed was 12th, so the mission accomplished for their all-star team. I mean, the U.S. team has shuffled all their second, third sleds. The teams have really, really changed from week to week.
Cunningham in the original Night Train sled is driven by Stephen Holcomb as well.
The sled won the competition here in December or January 2014. Speeds 1:15.4.
Good speed. Good lines through the Kreisel and down through the labyrinth. He was in 18th place. He's ahead of Jan Verber of the Czech Republic. He's coming ahead of Trikel.
Good speed at the bottom.
Is he pulling out 2 spots? No! 1 spot. Lost it all in the final corner. Ties for 17th. He was ahead of Verber and Trikel. He's now tied with Verber.
That little tap, but that speed he had at the bottom, that little tap cost him that 300. 3 more hundreds, and he's in 16. 4 hundreds, he's in 15.
He may still be safe.
Well, watch the guy on the right side. I thought a slip here. Yeah, ooh, look at that. Almost disaster. What athleticism. I think that's Del Duca.
That's Frank Del Duca. Got himself in.
That was so close to being disaster. And then on the bottom, he's got it going here. Pretty good speed to watch the tap out of the graveyard. That's what Justin Olsen did.
Double tap.
We got the 4th run, thank God.
I think they do. I think they do.
Almost disaster then.
The entire podium for the 2012 Youth Olympic Bobsleigh competition is here. This is Rudy Rinaldi of Monaco, who took the bronze medal, and he is in 19th place, tied with Bennett Buchmuller, the junior world champion.
490, 490. So they did their job there at 18th best velocity. But Rinaldi, who finished 10th in the 2-man competition, Monaco's best since they finished 4th on this track in 2004 at the World Championships. He is a rising star and has had a breakout season. 4-man, just speed's excellent. But
excellent speed, about 4th fastest there. Great lines from Rudy Rinaldi. He's
who builds the sled?
Yeah, Bruno Michon.
Bruno Michon.
Not yet caught Verber and Cunningham, but he's getting close, very close.
This is trying to get into the top 20. 4th best speed on the bottom with the track.
Stunning stuff from Rudy Rinaldi.
Best time, 19th overall.
And that may distance him enough from the guys outside the top 20 to seal that spot.
To have that speed with that deficient start, this kid's coming on. And again, who builds his sleds? Bruno Michon. Who's his coach? Bruno Michon. One of the best ever. And he coaches both the French and Monaco. Those 2 countries have a little relationship. Rudy Rinaldi, bronze medal at the Junior World Championships 2012. He's showing this was no fluke. Nice, the back end, the back left runner did not go airborne like everybody else. And here in the graveyard, taps.
He's done 3 World Championships in 2-man. This is his first ever in 4-man, and he looks like he's going to make the cut. And maybe too will Bennett Buchmüller, the German, the 4th German sled, because he is the junior world champion, 24-year-old mechanical engineering graduate. And his engineering thesis, his final paper, was concerning the design and build of a carbon fiber bobsled push bar.
Is he another guy too smart to be in the sport?
No, but I tell you what, he could learn to drive and then learn to engineer sleds afterwards.
Okay, 485s, both runs yesterday for the junior world champion.
And the deal with being the junior world champion is you have to have your championship winning team with you. You can't just be given another A team from the senior lineup.
One of the better rules by the IBSF. And, you know, it's great to reward the junior world champion with a spot in the field.
And his whole crew.
And his whole crew.
I think, is the benefit of it. All the juniors get to come. Good line, exiting the Königssee from Bennett Buchmüller.
Start 500 slower than yesterday, though.
Well, he was tied with Rudy Rinaldi to the 100th after 2 runs. He's in front of the Monegasque at the moment.
But he was pretty late there on the exit.
And that's what's cost him a spot. He's now dropped behind Rinaldi. He's still the 20th sled, still in the race.
Did not have good speed entering the Königssee. 19th best speed at the bottom, so he's bleeding time all the way down.
Needs a good run, though. 49.36. Oh, that is dangerous.
Sepp Dostadler, the Bavarian coach at the top, coaches the junior team, showed his frustration.
Very dangerous. He was only 1500s ahead of Lamindine of Great Britain, and he's just come down 3/10 slower than Rudy Rinaldi, with whom he was tied. Is that nerves? Is that pressure?
It's the junior world champion, though.
This is a different kettle of fish. Look at it. You don't get that crowd at a Junior Worlds.
Here's where he's late on the exit of the Königssee. That throws him into the line that he doesn't want to be in the danger zone we call the labyrinth. He gets some airborne runners. Look how high he climbs the wall, and his runners are way up at the top, which means you have to steer to get off the Kelstein.
Bennett Buchmüller lies 20th. The field is full. It is now go fast or go home. You have to bump someone to get in, Lamindine, and he knows the pressure. He's had a night to think about it with Ben Simons, John Baines and Andy Matthews. After the first 2 heats, they were 1500s behind Bennett Buchmüller, but a random drive from the junior world champion leaves a crack of daylight, and Lamindine's got to get in it.
46, 47 yesterday. They got to get, these are 4 great athletes. They got to get 44, 45, at least 489. I keep saying it, but Martin, you know as good as I do. These are 4 great athletes. They just have not come together as a team at the 50-meter start.
Right now, it's down to Lamindine. Yesterday, Brad Hall crashed out of what might have been a top 10 position run, but Lamindine has a chance to get the other British sled into the top 20, and right now, he is not on target. He's 21st place on the split times at the Königssee.
Better lines, though, than the German sled had. Remember, the German had a little drift out of the Echo Wand in the graveyard section coming up right here.
It is going to be very, very close at the line. Is he in or is he out? He needs to be 20th. He is not.
Wow. Yes, he is. No, it's 20th best time of the run. You're right, 21st overall. Sorry. So that means the Germans could breathe.
Hangs on, and he might breathe more easily because the next sled is a further 700s out of the equation, and the one after that a further 1700s
There's
back.
Brad Hall, there's the British guys who crashed yesterday, who were in the top 12 probably, top 4 start. Here, well, you can't really tell. There's not a lot of, that's where his teammate crashed yesterday.
The Wall of Champions, they call it. So Lamindine doesn't make the final run. No British sleds in the top 20. Francesco Friedrich, Johannes Lochner and Nico Walter are your top 3.
There's our top 20.
There's our top 21. Lamindine outside the 20. And now our 22nd sled, Clemens Brascher of Switzerland, making his World Cup debut. Finally, the push bar for the driver locks in, and he's double checking that, and that's a good move as well, taking nothing for granted, because when he starts to push, if he leans on that and it collapses, his fingers will be trapped and mangled, and their race will be toast.
48, 47. Have a chance. He's got to get 43, 44. I don't know if this team...
He was 22 hundredths out of the lead. On this track, that's unachievable. Out of 20th place, rather.
I hope we're both wrong.
I don't see him making up a quarter of a second on the junior world champion, even on this track.
Little drift there,
little
too.
Drift.
48, just like yesterday, but the velocity's decent. Now the S's, this Disney curve, Disney World ride. 4 consecutive S's, and then this exit, and that's sayonara there. So that 4 S's, he looked to me like he was really low on that first S, and you don't get a chance to correct at it, so you exit the. Hey, this is not a good line.
Oh, he is late everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're right about the S's. If you flatline 1 and 2, you get so high in 3, you can't control 4. And he did exactly the same out of the Kreisel.
So you make a mistake at the 200-yard mark, 200-meter mark, and you pay for it 400, 500, 600 meters down.
Exactly the same time as Lamin Dean of 49.32. So he remains 700s behind the British sled. And he, too, does not make it into the heat. And that, again, leaves him vulnerable to attack from behind. Although they're not getting into a final heat,
still
all these positions will count.
Well, the S's, he made his mistake way up above in the first S, and then this. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that's not a good line.
Well, with that and with this, he still set the same time as Lamin Dean. How did he do that?
Look at the airborne of the runners. He doesn't get grip until he's way on the take on to the Kelstein. And look how close the crowd gets to the action. Not happy.
Now, Nick Polignato, like Brescia, who we've just seen from Switzerland, a World Cup rookie, had a great weekend in the 2-man against all expectations.
Nick had a real rough first ride out of the S's sideways down the track, like we just saw the Swiss sled do it.
Well, he was 22nd after the first heat, 26th fastest in his second run yesterday. Here he comes down the straight.
Better. 115 change speed is good. I don't know if it's going to get him up into the top 20, and probably not, but he might move up 1. That's late there.
He's over 0.3 of a second out of a top 20 spot, so he's not going to make that, but he might move up a little bit ahead of Clemens Brescia of Switzerland. They weren't separated by much, just a 10th.
Great World Championships for Nick Polignato from Canada. No matter what, 19th best time in a run. Yeah, his first run, he went early, and he did not deliver on the run he needed to.
And he failed to overhaul Brescia, but just 200 of a second there.
But still, 5th last week, never finished in the top 10 in his life. First World Championships. He's one of my upcoming success stories for in the field, period, for this World Championships. Good start. Watch how good these guys get in the sled and get down. The Canadians are very proficient as they enter. Look at that. Down. Look at the efficiency, the way their arms come up together and come down. Nick, great World Championships. Dan Sunderland right there.
Great view inside the bare bones of a bobsled, this fabulous-looking Italian sled. This is the veteran of the Italian squad, Simone Battazzo, 34-year-old. 19th in last year's 4-man World Championship at Innsbruck. He didn't complete the 2-man Worlds. Well, at the moment, in 24th place, 19th. Seems like a bit of a dream. Sled lifted up at the back as they hit it from the handles. Any upward motion?
Here. Pure driver, just suspect start times. And when you have a deficient start time on this short 1,310-meter track, tough to overcome. Real quiet steering. This is as good as it gets. Probably 114 and change with that start. No, it gets above 115, which is great considering the start. Watch the lines here. He's been down the track probably more than anybody except for Holcomb in an international competition. It's quiet. I mean, he's just Simone Bertazzo. No start time. 21st best time of the run. No start time. His World Championships time. This is the last World Championships for Simone Bertazzo. What a great career. Multiple World Cup wins in his track in Sestriere, but he also won a World Championship two-man bronze medal in St. Moritz. His father Joey on the Italian team way back in the 80s. Look at the lines. I mean, Bertazzo's pretty much a mirror of Friedrich, the leader.
Well, same start as Loic Kostegg of France and Markus Treichel of Austria. He came down nearly 0.3 of a second slower than either of them. Simone Bertazzo, 24th place, 25th in our field after the first day of competition. Czech Republic's Dominik Dvořák again had a very strong two-man competition, and Dvořák has been an emerging star this year. 19th place in the last race in Innsbruck. He went to the Junior Worlds 3 weeks ago and didn't compete in the World Cup race here in four-man or in two-man.
We've liked his results this season.
Yeah.
A 6th place in the two-man World Cup in Innsbruck, his world best. Start in and down. Boy, he took a nice turn at curve one, which is probably related to why he had the 21st best velocity. Good lines there. And there. Got a speed. Can he muster up? Telemetry not working on his sled. Late there.
25th spot. Chasing Simone Bertazzo. How close will he be at the line? He's going to be around a 10th behind the Italian, maybe.
24th.
Across the line, 2:31 behind, Bertazzo 2:13, so he drifts out a little away from the Italian. And his World Championships is completed. Not sure whether Dvořák and Verba from the Czech Republic will go to Korea in 3 weeks' time for the final World Cup race.
Well, if I'm the Czechs, I definitely said Dvořák because he's got a superior start time in the two-man competition, and that track might favor start time athletes. And this is late off the Kreisel. Rudder tips means he's got to steer over. Look at the riders in the sled. Dominic, good season for you.
Five sleds down in the third of 4 heats of the Bobsleigh World Championships. Germany, 1, 2, 3. Ivo de Bruin of the Netherlands, 1/100th of a second behind Dominik Dvořák of the Czech Republic after 2 heats. This will be their final slide in the World Championships, and they overhaul the Czech sled.
You know, they've been working together, what, 10 days now since they had that push competition? 12, 13 days ago. Boy, he drifted again to the right side of our screen for the, I think 2 of the 3 trips he's done that. Drifted to the right out of those start grooves. It's not the optimum line into that first curve.
Silver medalist in the Youth Olympic Games 2012. Showed an awful lot of promise as a young junior driver, and the Dutch team sort of fell away. They're trying to rebuild it, trying to find some fast athletes to get in behind Ivo de Bruin.
He gets a start time. We know he can drive. Equipment is supported by Eurotech. Vin Norman is a great supporter of the Dutch program. 26th best downtime, 26th best overall.
26th best start. It's all linked. It's not one element. It's not just a great driver. It's not just a great start. It's not just a great sled or great runners. It's everything. Like racing a car, not one element is good enough on its own. You have to make the whole package work.
Well, I talked about him drifting to the right. Well, when you drift to the right like this, that means you're going to enter the curve from that angle too, instead of the middle. So look at him drift over here.
He couldn't get his arms in for some reason. His right knee didn't get under the cowl, then he couldn't get his arms in, and I think that's because the brakeman behind him's knees were in the way.
That's
So
just
he
that.
didn't have a handle on the D-rings as he got out of those drive lines. Second Italian sled, the Youth Olympic champion from 2012 in boys bobsleigh, Patrick Baumgartner of Italy. 2012 in Innsbruck, it was a two-man sled. In the 2016 Youth Olympic Games, it was a one-man sled, a monobob. So he is the only two-man Youth Olympic champion. And Baumgartner still just 22 years old. And this is his World Championship debut in two-man and four-man bobsled. Oh, and slips as he's getting in.
Still recovered well. Looks like they've been pretty well drilled in the technique of pushing a four-man sled. They've still got the indoor push track open at the Cesana track.
Yeah, it makes such a difference pushing on ice when you're rehearsing getting into a sled compared to on matting.
Speed. Great. And of course, this is late in the heat, late in the field. You probably won't see those any kind of decent speeds. Good line, though.
Only 800s behind the Dutch. How close will he get? Doesn't get them, so he will remain 300s behind Ivo de Bruyn after 3 runs.
He beat Ivo in that run, but didn't beat him by enough.
2 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time, and he's 300ths of 1 second behind.
Watch the driver. Look at that, trips. Oh, he didn't get in clean at all. No matter how many times you practice this, you could still have something happen.
Did he? It wasn't him, it was Drazen Cilic whose feet he tripped over in the sled on the second heat. I was thinking it was a red sled, it wasn't the Italian. Talking of whom, he has appeared, Drazen Cilic of Croatia. Well, these guys were 33rd starters in a field of 34. He had a bit of a jump up the order in the second heat from 31st. He was 28th quickest, moved up into 28 spots, jumped Maciej Lucia, Poland, and Dominic Grigori of Romania. And they were only, they were 4/10 behind Patrick Baumgartner, so they're trying to preserve their position.
Well, everybody out here is in a fierce competitive nature, but when you don't have the tools to work with, like the Croatians, you're still amazed to see them run around and be as happy and as positive as they are. Cilic, a part-time school teacher.
Full-time school teacher.
Full-time school
part-time
teacher,
bobsledder. So yeah, he's got a substitute teacher in for the World Championships, I'm sure. And he tows the sled on a boat trailer behind his own car. There's no big van, there's no truck, there's no massive support. But there is massive heart. These guys...
Yeah, they represent what the sport always was in the day, which is people just getting together for a Saturday, Sunday day of racing.
Owner drivers, and they are representing their nation as proudly as anybody in the field. Well, a 49.82.
That's their last team. Look at them, have fun.
That's his worst drive as well, and that might leave them a little open to attack from behind. But Drazen Cilic and the boys from Croatia have again done a stand-up job.
Their boss at home, Ivan Sola, if you're watching, Ivan. Hello, Ivan. This little bit of a mistake down here by Mr. Cilic.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to do.
It eventually breaks into the skid he was trying to avoid. And
that
again,
wasn't smooth on the exit, and you don't think that's not worth a couple hundreds? Well, that's worth time.
So the Croatian team's World Championships ends with a 49.82. That might leave them vulnerable to attack from behind. Dorin Grigore was the very first man on ice in the four-man competition. Start draw number 1 for the Romanian. Only 300s behind Croatia's Drazen Silic. Can he now move up a spot?
Well, it's about a start. Romanians well schooled, getting it, getting down. 27th best, 25th best velocity. High there in that first S. Let's see if it costs them in the exit. A little bit. Still got a skid going.
Oh, and that's leveled the playing field with Drazen Silic. At that stage, he was ahead of the Croatian sled.
That was a pretty rough exit of the S's that cost him all the way down.
Now down to 29th spot behind Silic. Can he find anything at the bottom? Can he somehow claw his way past Croatia? 26 speed at the bottom, not bad. And at the line, doesn't quite get to Drazen Silic. That big skid cost them. The Romanians will be in 29th place. And that leaves them open to attack now, potentially from Maciej Luge of Poland, who was only 300s behind the Croatians. And Dorin Grigore knows that long, late skid down the straight is what nailed shut the door. Look at that.
But the mistake wasn't made here, it was made up in the S's. Then, of course, cost him the exit wrong out of the S's. And then down here, well, it's anybody's game down here. We don't know what's the good, the bad, or the ugly. They all look pretty violent to take on right there.
And yet in the sled, it doesn't feel quite like that.
Look how close the people are.
Yeah. Dorin Grigore and Romania are done for the four-man World Championships. Final 3 sleds on ice as they all jockey for position in the finishing order outside the top 20. This is Poland's Maciej Luge. 32nd in the first heat in a field of 34. 29th fastest run moved him up to 30th spot.
Very disappointed with the Poles here. I really thought he was going to do much better. Did pretty good the two-man, you know, with the deficient starts. But just, you know, being coached now by Latvian Jānis Minins, thought he'd have the equipment, instinct to bring these guys forward.
And Maciej perhaps promised a little more. He was 26th in last year's four-man World Championships. Best he's likely to get here is maybe 1 spot at 29th. So where's the speed in the sled? Can he carry it down through the labyrinth? Not bad line. He's up to 28th place on the split times. He's going to move up. Can he hold it to the line? He's going to jump Dorin Grigore and Drazen Silic. And he does, takes 2 places in the final heat.
Something to smile about for the guy in the red jacket, Jānis Minins, the World Cup driver from Latvia, Olympic driver.
So 49.75 moves ahead of Dorin Grigore, and Drazen Silic picks up 2 spots.
As he should.
But still doesn't match his previous best in the four-man from last year.
Congratulations to the Polish team scouting him this morning. They got a guy who can really sprint. Hasn't figured out how to drive a sled yet, but Luge knows how to drive. You know, I think another year of...
Yeah, still a diamond in the rough, isn't he? You would hope that he'll make a kind of Rudy Rinaldi surge up the order next year.
Start time.
2 to go from Norway, a tiny team of just 6 people, 4 in the sled, Dad coaching and 1 assistant. Thomas and Kubinian Heibel, front and back of the sled, and between them, Nicholas Haugen and Andreas Bjørn representing Norway. Just a couple of World Cup appearances under their belts. First of which they made their debut was here last year after the World Championships. Raced here this year as well as in Samoritz, finished 28th in the World Cup race.
It's 2 new guys though beyond his brother. This is the first time he's raced with them.
5:21 getaway, exactly what they produced in their other two heats.
Not good.
Oh, and a big skid, just like the first heat as well from the Norwegians. 31st place at the start line. At the moment.
A little bit better than a couple of the previous sleds.
Still in 31st spot. Target is Dorin Grigore of Romania. Can they close on the Romanian sled? Grigore, much more experienced driver than Thomas Heibel. And at the line, no, by 200. Misses catching the Romanians. How many hundreds have separated sleds? Or a couple of hundreds here. We've had that a few times already in this third heat.
Yeah, well, his little straightaway, bend away, whatever you want to call it on the exit of the S's, didn't help. This is worth a tenth, 10 hundredths. See the runners, friction across the ice. Friction's not a really good asset in the sport of bobsled.
Friction isn't, spirit is, and everybody in this field has got that, including our second Romanian sled. They made history yesterday, the first ever all-female crew in a four-man bobsleigh World Championship race. Maria Constantin, Olivia Wild, Andrea Grecu and Erika Halle. Constantin and Grecu drove in the women's race, they drove in the team race and got a bronze medal as part of an international lineup. And they both have raced in World Cup in women's bobsleigh. Now united with Olivia Wild and Erika Halle, their brake women, to make this four-seater bobsled crew.
Paul Niagu cleaning up the spikes.
Final run of the World Championships for them. I believe it might be the final run of the season as well. Not sure whether or not they're going to the final World Cup race and the Olympic track in Pyeongchang in 3 weeks. Well, they won't be taking the four-man sled, that's for sure. Get in and down as gently as they can to give as much momentum to the sled. Their fastest getaway of the three. They are not going to catch Thomas Heibel of Norway for 31st place, but they are breaking new ice all the way down this World Championships.
Well, there's no question of her ability to drive the sled.
It's definitely not her first week in a four-man. She's raced it a few times before now, really loves the feel of the four-man sled.
Four-man sleds, when you figure it out, easier to drive, go straighter. It's not quirky like that little two-man sports car.
Longer wheelbase, if you like, and more weight to keep it planted to the ice. Neat and tidy run right down the middle of the track from Maria Constantin.
Oh, congratulations, Paul Niagu.
Former bobsledder who lives in Winterberg in Germany. He's the man who facilitates all of this.
Defected out of Romania in the mid-'80s, went right to Winterberg. And he's been the chief bottle washer, mechanic, fundraiser, everything for the Romanian program. Especially these girls.
Romanian fans right down there at the bottom. Pavel Kulikov's dad with the St. Petersburg flag. And look at these girls, lots of cheering off at the top.
Well, the girl on the right ran 5 more steps.
And that's Erika Halle, Andrea Grecu rather, Erika Halle on the back. Well, they give away nothing in heart. They might give away a bit in body weight and lose a bit at the start. But Maria Constantin can drive a four-man. And that rounds out the third and penultimate heat of the four-man bobsleigh World Championships. Our 32 sleds are down. Our top 20 go in reverse order to decide the medals. And 0.2 of a second cover the top 3. 21 hundredths the top 4. The medals are all up for grabs. Two-man world champion Francesco Frigic leads into the final run for the second year in succession, looking this time to try and grab the gold medal.
Epic bobsled heat coming up, Martin. It's going to start.
And this is the way it looks. 100th, first to second, 100th, third to fourth. Melbardis is out of the equation unless there are catastrophes in front of him. But Justin Cripps in 6th, Benny Meyer in 7th, Maxim Andrianov, the top Russian, in 8th, ahead of his teammates. And Oscar's keeper Manislik could move up ahead of Kazyanov in the blink of an eye. Olsen and Stulnev 100th apart. 200s Peter and Kosteg. I mean, there are battles all the way down the top 20. Bennett Buchmuller rounds out the top 20. Lamindine didn't get to him, and he and the rest of the field from 21 on down to 32nd place Maria Constantin will join this massive crowd trackside to see the final run, the deciding slides in the BMW IBSF 2017 4-man World Championships. Join John Morgan, the IBSF TV crew, and me, Martin Haven, trackside. We will have our first sled on ice at 20 minutes past 3, 14:20 GMT. Join us then.